This holiday season, when they got froze out, they found a way to survive and looked ahead to the new year. The Merch Family, coming December 12th, 2017. A Merry Merchmas.
What's my approach to a successful niche compared to differ from now to when I first started? So basically what I do is if I see a shirt, I look at the sales rank first off. Like if there is a demand for it, and the only way I can tell there's a demand for that actual shirt is if the sales rank is doing this little number going up and down on the sales chart. And there's obviously a few tools out there that you can use to actually determine, and like it'll show you. There's like you can use like Merch Informer, you can use what was it, Keepa or Camel. There's free tools out there that you can use. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much about it. If I see that that actual shirt making sales, I will go in that niche and figure out what's going on, and if there's any. Like if I can make like a daughter shirt or a son shirt or a mother shirt or any type of shirt related to that niche, I will kind of like basically just sub niche down in. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. And if that shirt makes sales, then I'll actually compete against myself and make another shirt like the one I made that's making sales, and that way I just take over the niche. So. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. See you later.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Nick from the 4554 podcast. And when I'm researching designs, it really depends on what type of design I'm looking for. Now, for my evergreens, I usually stay within the certain niches that I have the most success in. So those niches, I know the jargon, I know the events that happen within them that I can capture that audience. But if I just have a general evergreen that I'm looking for, then I might look on Pinterest. I may look just around me. I've gotten several design inspirations from my vision board. Sometimes I like to go out to the beach. Sometimes I like to go out to the park. It really just depends. There's no real rhyme or reason when I'm just looking for a general evergreen design. Now, when I'm looking for a specific trend, I use a combination of Twitter, Google Trends, and Merch Informer. And before everybody goes on and says, oh, I don't want to do Merch Informer, I don't want to pay for it, I personally pay for Merch Informer, but hey, if you don't, they still have some great free tools. But using that three-step process of Twitter, Google Trends, and Merch Informer really validates the trend, how long it's been going on, and I can kind of project on how long it's going to go. And that's been my success method. Now, when I first started, I only used Pinterest for everything. Evergreens, trends, the whole nine. As I've kind of evolved in my merch journey, I've learned when to use it and when not to use it. Hope that helps everybody. Take care and Merry Merchmas.
Freeze University. What's going on, guys? Happy holidays. Your leader, Joe Clay, had asked me to talk about how my niche research is different now compared to when I first started. I'll be honest with you. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is that I'm currently using Merch Informer along with just going on Google. I'm pretty well known in the community for having done all my research on Google. I still continue to do that. But also, check, I don't watch television. I get all my news source from CNN, Yahoo News, Fox News. So, just continue doing that. Watch the trends. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, there's tons and tons of niche ideas and research ideas you guys can find online. Okay? Have a wonderful Christmas.
Hey guys, it's Jacob Topping here, and I got a message from Joe. He said, what is your approach to successful niche research today, and how does it differ from when you first started? So when I first started, I had no idea what to make for shirts. I used to go to Amazon and try and figure out what kind of things people are buying and what things are people into and what I saw people wearing. So I'd go to the store, I'd go to the mall. When I was flying, I'd go to the airport, read people's shirts, and I just kind of grabbed ideas from anywhere. I used to keep a notebook, and I would write down all the different ideas in my notebook. And then when I got home from work, I would go through to Google Trends, and I would also go on to Amazon.com, and I would type in the ideas that I had, and then I would find out if there's any demand for the ideas that I was seeing out and about and around. I'd also make up different ideas, things that I thought might sell or clever ideas and things. And I found out really quick that things that I thought, were original would be trademarked. So obviously people had thought of them before. So that's what I did when I got started. And then as I progressed, I started to see that there was types of niches and things that worked well together. So I'm going to go through a bunch of types of niches because that might be helpful, and then I'll tell you exactly sort of how I approach it now and what I'm currently doing. That being said, I use a variety of different techniques from day to day. So I do switch it up. I don't use the same process every day. I do something different every few days or almost every day. So different types, there's trends. So when I talk about different types, these are categories. It'll make sense when you hear them. So there's trends, and those things I would get like super current. So I would get those things from things like the national news, Twitter, niche-specific news sites like sports news sites. So something like sports news or hunting news or whatever the current news is for a particular group of people. Then there's current bestsellers, so things that are selling well on Amazon. So one way to do that would be go and browse through Amazon and look at what things are selling well. The other way to do that is to use tools. So I use a Chrome plugin, which allows me to go through and basically see all of the merch designs. I think it's Merch Research Pro. It's a tool that Chris Greene put out. And then now there's also Merch Informer. So Merch Informer is a little bit more efficient because it sorts them top to bottom. Chris's plugin tool allows you to see them, and you can kind of see the ranking for all the shirts on the display page, but you do need to kind of filter through them. The next would be seasonal. So follow things throughout the times of the year. So there's different calendar dates that I would go through. And also I would pay attention to what's happening in retail stores. So if you go into a big box store, something like a Walmart or Target or department stores, even like hardware stores typically will have a seasonal section, and they'll put out things months before the actual high buying time because they want it to be there before people start thinking of buying it. So I found that was a good way to look at niches that were coming up, things that I might not think of on my own or might not be available through current bestsellers because it's something that's coming up. So retail stores, I think, is a great place to see what's coming up in terms of seasonal niches. So event-based things. So these are not necessarily seasonal related, but things that people can relate to any time of the year. So I'll talk about things like birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, retirements. They're constantly happening with many people, so you can make lots of designs from those. From there, I look at big groups. So things like hunting, for example, you've got duck hunters, deer hunters, fishing, all kinds of different hunting, different types of hunting, gun hunting, bow hunting, again, fishing hunting. There's all kinds of different ones. Sports, so you've got all the different types of sports, hockey, baseball, football, tennis, the list goes on and on. There's individual sports and team sports. Religious themes, so there's, all the different religions as well. There's Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheists, all kinds of different religious groups that will affiliate with different designs you can make. And then professions. People spend most of their working days at their profession, or if they retired for something, they've probably done something for a long time, so people are passionate about those things. Good place for niche research is professions. Hobbies, so things like board games, video games, woodworking, sewing, DIY, anything like that, things that people do, maybe not with other people. Sometimes it's with other people, sometimes it's by themselves, but they have an affinity group, so hobbies that people do. Then there's activities, so things that people do that may not be considered so much of a hobby, things like yard work. So people cut the grass, they shovel snow, they take care of their swimming pool. If they have a cottage or something, they have lake activities. Things that people do together. So things like partying, things around the house, work, school, things like that. Then just things themselves. So I would look at bigger categories of things for niches. Things like animals, so you want to look at wild animals, pets, zoos, things like that. foods, so different types of foods, like barbecue culture, for example, is pretty large in the US, or individual items, so things like pizza or cheese or avocados, bananas, kombucha, any kind of things that there's groups of people that enjoy a type of food or a food item. Tools for any kind of trade, so hammers, wrenches, any kind of tool that somebody might use. They could be computer tools, they could be physical tools, they could be other types of tools. And then fantasy things, so things like unicorns, Bigfoot, vampires, things like that. There's all kinds of different fantasy things that are available in popular culture. So, and then random things. So something that I'll see in a saying or a restaurant or watching YouTube, for example, or listening to the radio, I'll pick up on the lyrics and kind of think about what people are thinking about and what's in the general culture. So those are some of the places that I get niche. To answer the second part of the question, what do I use now that I didn't use before? I do tend to use things like tools more now than I did before, things like Merchant Former. And again, I use Chris Greene's Chrome plugin, which I thought was fantastic. So I use those tools a little bit more, and I do try to look at trends that are not overly saturated, and that's hard to do. So the only way to do that is really to look through, use some tools. If you don't have the tools available, look through Amazon and see how many designs are available for the thing that you're thinking of. Try and grab things that do have traffic, but don't have too many designs. I find you'll have the most success there. And something that's changed a lot since I first started was at the beginning you could put up a niche or an idea on a shirt and it either would do well or it wouldn't do well. And if it did well, it could do very well. I found now that there's tools, if people are making more than 2 or 3 sales on a design per day, other people are going to see those really quickly. They're really obvious. They really pop out once you get into less than 100,000 BSR on Amazon. So once that starts happening, you're not probably going to make a ton of extra sales because it's going to be oversaturated quickly. So those are some tips. Hope it's helpful. Probably took a little bit longer. I was aiming for 1 to 2 minutes. Looks like it's 7.5. So good luck, guys, and Merry Merchmas.